I'm Victoria from Cosy Country here in partnership with Cosy Owl. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make beeswax candles. So let's get going.
So I have 800 grams of the yellow beeswax here. I also have my little containers. We've just gone for a 5 centilitre. I have a honey fragrance oil. I also have my wicks. I have 3 wick centering tools just here, my glue dots, and both of my melting jugs. So firstly we need to measure out our wax. My containers today are 5 centilitres each, so that means I'm going to measure out 150 grams of the yellow beeswax just here, and that should fill my containers perfectly. And I'll just quickly show you what the beeswax looks like, just in case you haven't seen it before. It comes in little pellets just like this, just as you'd see with your paraffin or soy wax. So now we're ready to melt our wax. I have just a few inches of water just in the bottom of this pan, and I'm going to pop it onto a medium heat just so that it's not bubbling over and water doesn't go everywhere. And then I'll keep coming back to my wax and giving it a really good stir around. Now beeswax does have quite a high melting point, so you don't want to go away too far. You do want to keep coming back and checking it and keep breaking it up just to try and help it out whilst it's melting. So it's been about 10 minutes now and my wax has completely melted, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to double check the temperature of it because I don't want it to be too hot. However, with beeswax having such a high melting point, it does actually set quite quickly as well, as I found out during this video. So I'm just going to test the temperature now, and I want this to be somewhere around 68 to 70 degrees just at the moment. And as I'm testing this, I think it's just a little bit over. So you can see there it was around 83 degrees there, so that is far too hot for me to do anything with. So I'm just going to pop it onto the other side of my hob. There's no heat on there and it'll just cool down. So whilst the wax is going to cool down, I have preheated these jars as well. Just like I said before, it does set quite quickly, so you don't want to be pouring this wax into any cold containers, and if the ambient temperature is quite cool, you will want to preheat your jars as well. Just a little tip for you there. So I'm just grabbing my wicks here, just straighten them out and grab your glue dots and peel off one side of the glue dot, and then you can pop it just to the base of your wick here, as you can see, and just make sure it's well stuck down, and then you can peel off the other side. And once you've peeled it off just like that, you can make sure it's nice and central into your container, and just make sure you push it down really good, and then you know that it's well stuck down. And then I'll just do the same for the other two just here. I'll show you again just in case, and then we will move on to making sure your wicks are nice and central with the wick centering tools. So now I'm all wicked up. As you can see, they're nice and central just there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my wick centering tools just here, and I'm going to pop them straight over the top of the wick in the middle hole there. I'm just going to pop them into the little groove, and then they'll stay nice and central for me in there. It's always really good to use these wick centering tools just here. You can use other things as well, such as pegs and things like that, but I really like these because they sit over the top of the containers nicely, and they will stop the wick from moving around when I'm pouring my wax too. So my wax here has cooled down to around 70 degrees. Now, just in terms of your fragrance oil, be sure to check the flash points of your fragrance oil, just because you don't want any of it to evaporate if the wax is a little bit too hot for it. But the flash point for honey was around 95 degrees, so I'm good to go to pour it into my pouring jug. So now I'm going to just measure out my fragrance oil here. So because I've got 150 millilitres of wax in here, I'm just going to pop in around 10 millilitres of the fragrance oil, and that should give me a really nice scent throw. As you can see at the bottom, it has coagulated just a little bit, but don't worry about it. You can just keep giving it a good stir just to make sure that it does go all the way through the wax. It will melt through, so please don't worry about it. If you are worried, you can just pop it back into your pan with the boiling water and let it warm up just a little bit, but try not to go too far with it. You should be okay just stirring it around just like this. So now I'm happy with my wax. I'm just going to pour it into my preheated containers. Remember about the temperatures and make sure that the ambient room temperature is a little bit warmer. If it is cool, you will need to warm your containers just to avoid any sort of rings or any frosting on the container. So I'm pouring this around 65 degrees, which is a little bit cool, but my containers are nice and warm, so we should get a really nice finish on this wax. And once you have poured them all, you can leave them to set just overnight, and then you'll be ready to burn them the next day. So I'm back with mine, and I'm just going to take off the wick centering tools just here, and as you can see, they are a really nice flat finish, and I'll just get the rest of them off, and then I will be able to start trimming my wick. So I have some wick trimmers here. You can use some scissors as well, and just make sure your wicks are around the 5mm mark. You don't want to go any shorter than that really, because you could run the risk of your wick drowning in the wax, and you don't want it to be too high because you don't want your flames to be really high either. So around 5mm is absolutely perfect, and I'll just show you that as well. And there you are. So they should be ready to burn.